even if it's twins, you always count from the first one. Ibaylahu. We just learned so far that when it comes to a carbon, you don't have a separate carbon for any birth that came within the 80 days. That's what we just learned, according to Rabbi Yehuda. So the way it works is like this. The 14 days of impurity, 66 days of purity. Means even if she's seeing blood, but that blood is not impure. It's not nida, it's called dam tayar. Now, in the olden days, that was, they were, husband and wife were permitted during those 66 days. Today it stopped for whatever reason. But now the Gemara asks like this. We mentioned that for Rabbi Yehuda, those 80 days are all counted from the first one, and the second one doesn't do anything for the carbon. It's all the first carbon. It says, Betuma Mali Amar Ibaylo. There you have a question. Betuma Mali Amar Rabbi Yehuda. What does Rabbi Yehuda say regarding the second birth, regarding impurity? Does he hold that the second birth is nothing? Or does he hold that that's only been a the carbon? So let's see how this works. Mi amrina, do we say Ad kan lekam Rabbi Yehuda vlad sheni command less adam yelin carbon? Do we say that the second birth is considered nothing regarding the sacrifice? Given layatza shari lakar carbon, because there was no time that he was able to bring the sacrifice. Hayil v'chein, and that's so. Being so, vlad sheni command less adam. The second birth is also nothing. The second birth is nothing. Avalinian tuma v'tara, but regarding purity, emisfir le command isadami. Say maybe that the birth is something, umafska tuma desheni, and there is impurity by the second birth. So far, that's clear that there's impurity by the second birth because she gave birth. However, what happens? Umamali yemei tara derishan, v'hadamani yemei tara l'sheni. What we need to do is we need to go back and recalculate. Let's say she gave birth after 54 days, so we will have left over, was it 26? 26 days left over. Should we say that there were 14 days of impurity here that don't count for those 26 days? So we're going to need to count extra days after the 80 days are up, not an extra 14 days, or if it was a boy, an extra 7 days to make up for the missed days of the. Because we're going to need to count for the second one time for that's purity days, and then make up the missing days that we took away from the first one. We have to make that up. Do we say that there was a birth there that interrupted, and I need to redo those missing days later on at the end? Maybe Rabbi Yehuda just has a chumra here regarding the carbon. Aval hacha kulahu kula lesla. He doesn't have any kula. He doesn't extend the days of Tara. What does it mean that there's a chumrah? Chumrah means that he has extra karbanos. So according to the chachamim, he would bring one carbon at the end of all of her births. She would bring one carbon at the end of all of her births. According to Rabbi Yehuda, he brings every second one she brings every second one a carbon. So Rabbi Yehuda is a chumrah in karbanos, but it doesn't mean that there's any extra time of Yemei Tara. Okay. Amar Rav Huna Misura. Rav Huna from Surah is going to bring a proof. Tashema. It says, Yeledes, woman that gave birth, Sheichtin v'zarkan alea b'yoimem l'zachib yem shmeinim lenakeva. You can shech the carbon Pesach for a woman that gave birth on the 40th day after the birth of a male, and on the 80th day after the birth of a female. The Gemara asks, the Gemara says, V'kashalon, we have to add in those words. We asked on that, 1 second, on the 40th day and on the 80th day, Ad kan tameyahi, she's still tamei. because she needs to wait till the 41st day in the morning to bring her carbon. How are you shechting carbon Pesach? She's going to eat it that night. She didn't bring her carbon yet. She can't eat. So Rav Chisda says, Hamani Rabbi Yehuda. We're going according to Rabbi Yehuda. Damar Vlad Sheni Kamanda Lesadami. That the second birth, it doesn't count. We're talking about that she gave birth, if this is twins, okay? So she gave birth 41 days ago to the first one. A day later, she gave birth again to the second one. That's easy. It was before Shkia, after Shkia. That's not a big deal. The point here is that it's 41 days from the first birth and it's 40 days from the second birth. So what are we going to prove? That she's only tummy from the first birth. The second birth doesn't count. So when we were talking over here, 40 days, we meant the second birth, and Rabbi Yehuda holds the second birth wasn't, because it's included in, it's like subsumed, it's incorporated into the first one, so it's nothing. If we're going to say that Tumah, Rabbi Yehuda holds that the second birth, it does exist. How could you shecht on the 40th day? She can't eat it that night. She has to wait till the next day to bring the carbon. We see from here the tar of a Tumah Srila Rabbi Yehuda regarding purity and impurity. Rabbi Yehuda holds Vlad Sheni Kamanda Lesadami. It's not there. There is no second birth. Okay. The Gemara says you don't have to say that. That doesn't have to be the pshat in that Mishnah or Tosefta. Really, we could say Really, Rabbi Yehuda holds that you have to count the Tum and Tar from the second one as well. What was that? Brisa? Pesach haba b'tumah. That Brisa was talking about the whole congregation was tumah. So that's why after the 40th day of this woman's tumah, everyone else was tumah anyway. So we said, big deal. We know we have a halacha that a carbon pesach could be brought b'tumah. So we're going to bring it b'tumah over here as well, and you can shecht for her as well.
Why would they say halacha for something
that didn't matter?
No, but I'm saying that did it actually happen that all Bnei Yisrael brought the pesach b'tumah?
No, but the halacha is that if everyone is tamei, you still bring the carbon pesach. It says b'mayadai.
So what's the chiddush to say that?
Very good, very good. So, but the Gemara is going to take one step first before it does
What
it.
happened to Pesach Sheni?
No, Pesach Sheni is when an individual is tummy.
Oh.
But if everyone is tummy, you still bring it. That was our
Today
question.
we could all bring a korban pesach if we wanted to.
Because we're all tummy.
The Gemara says like this.
Where are you going to bring it?
Wherever you like.
Umi achla. But can you eat it? V'atanana was taught in the Mishnah. Pesach haba b'tumah. La yoichle men azavim azavis nidus v'yoldes. V'yoledes. Yoldes. A Pesach that's brought b'tumah, even though everyone is tummy mace, but that doesn't mean that everyone that has every sort of impurity gets to go in and eat and eat from it. A zav doesn't eat it, not a zava, not a nida, not a woman that gave birth. There's other impurities that are still in effect. So the Gemara says, Hahi layachli. When you said that Mishnah that they can't eat from it, kilay tevilan. That's because they didn't go to the mikveh yet. But this woman, 40 days means that after 7 days, she could already use the mikveh, and she waits 33 days of purity. So no, she could go to the mikveh twice. After the days of purity, she has to go to the mikveh again. But there is there's like 2 steps of purity. There's the days of impurity, which is either 7 or 14, which she would be able to go to the mikveh then, in biblical times. And then probably Mishnah as well. Then after the 40 days, or after the 66 days, you would go to the mikveh again. So we're talking about that the first impurity went off, and she's during the Yemei Taya. So the Gemara says over here that when do we say that they can't eat from it, a Yoldes can't eat from it? That's because they didn't go to the mikveh. Because she went to the mikveh. The Gemara asks, okay, you're resolving this very nicely, but the details here don't fit. So then why are you saying that you can shecht for her on the 40th day, making it look like the 40 days are over and then everything is good? if we're talking about using the mikveh, you could have said you shecht from her from the 8th day and on.
Right, who needs that? Right.
What do you need all that other time for? Where it says, Mishmini lechazia, kasaver tful yom dezav kazav dami. See, what's going on here is that a woman that gives birth is tummy for 7 days or 14 days, and then they have purity for either 33 days or 66 days. Those days of purity is called a tful yom. She went to the mikveh, and she has to wait for nightfall. The nightfall happens to be is 33 days later. Usually someone goes to the mikveh, has to wait for nightfall. That's that evening. Here, it's like an extended nightfall. So when is that over? That's over on the 40th day. 33 days. Because she went to the mikveh on the night after the 7th. So the nightfall is 40 days later. So that's what we mean when we say that he can shecht for her on the 40th day. Because that night she'll be able to eat the korban. Ihachi b'yoimem nami lechazia. So, and how could you shecht for her on the 40th day? Because we're asking now that she's mechusar kippurim. She's missing the sacrifice, and she can't eat from the korban pesach. Why are we saying this before that she could eat from the korban pesach? Because we were saying that everyone was tameh. So yeah, but they didn't go to the mikveh. I'm not sure why this is an issue. We resolved this already. You have any notes on this? Why be mem lechazia? We said that was only the whole problem of tumah was only if she didn't go to the mikveh. Okay, we're imagining here. We're assuming here that if she's mechusar kippurim, she's considered like a zav or like a yeledes as well. The Gemara says le'iye. In truth, we have that word again. Be'emes b'yoyim mem chazia. On the 40th day, she is fit. Why? Because Mechusar Kasavar, this Tana holds Mechusar Kippurim Dezav Lav Kazav Dami. Mechusar Kippurim, just lacking the sacrifice, which is supposed to be brought on the 41st day, that does not make her like a Zav. It's only the nightfall of the 40th that makes her like a Zav, and we passed that already. Now the Gemara asks Rava, the Amar Mechusar Kippurim Dezav Kazav Dami. What do we do according to Rava? Rava holds that until she brings the korban, she's still considered Tameh. How are you allowed to shecht for her? How are you going to answer the Mishnah? Ravashi Rava metaretz la b'yoimem liyitzir zachar v'im shmeinim liyitzir snekeva Rabbi Shmalhi. Totally different story. Totally different story. The story here is that Rabbi Shmuel holds that how long does it take for a child to be formed that it's considered a fetus?
Turn the thing
it's a whole different story. Right. It has to do with that how long does it take for it to be a fetus? It takes 40 days from conception. Rabbi Shmuel holds that it really takes 41 days. So here we said that if it wasn't 40, she had a miscarriage and it wasn't 41 days, she was never tamei. It wasn't considered a birth because it was a miscarriage too early. So it doesn't count as a birth. So that's what it means. From 40 days, you can shecht for her the korban pesach because that doesn't count.
Why does it take 80 days to make a female, 40 days to make a male?
And he holds Zamar Zachar Mem.
Males aren't so complicated.
The Nekeva Shmeina Ve'achad.
Women is very much more complicated.
Isn't it strange? Isn't it strange? Have any explanation for that?
Come on.
Complications.
Men are simple. Men are simple. Women are complex.
Okay.
Silence?
Thank
you. Radio silence?
No idea. Takes longer for a woman to make up her mind. Male mind has like 4 things on it. Woman multitasks.
Safe. Typically, the Tumah Mishum Nida. The Gemara asks, okay, so she gave birth, and we're going to say that the giving birth is not considered a birth because it was too early. It was only after 40 days. But even if it's not considered a birth, but she's still Tamei Nida. So the womb opened up. So that's considered Nida. So the Gemara says, Beledi Yaveshta. It was dry, there was no blood. The Gemara first thinks that there's blood at the birth. The Gemara says, no, it was totally dry birth. There was no blood. That's interesting. I don't know if it's possible. If so, so what's the chiddush over here? The Gemara asks. We need some sort of chiddush. The Gemara says, we could have thought that maybe it's impossible for the uterus to open up without any blood. There must have been blood there, you just didn't find it. There's a chiddush here. That even though you didn't see it, they
always call uterus kever.
Yeah.
Such a weird name.
Yeah, it's Dr. Stein's. Okay, so what we're learning from this is that it is possible to have psichse kever b'lei dam. Yeah, he's asking how is kever called? The uterus is called kever, right?
Well, we did this
that's
before.
one of your discussions.
Each way.
Wow.
Amar Rab Shmaya, we have a new pshat over here. How to answer the question with Rabbi Yehuda? Do we count the second birth that's within the 80 days as a birth regarding purity? Tashma. Shishim. It says 66 days. So let's start with one of them. It says 60 days. She should count. Yachal bein Ritzuf and bein Mefazarim. Maybe these days could be whether they're consecutive or whether they're spread apart. It means if they're broken up in middle. Talmud Laimar Yoim. It says by day. It says Shishim Yoim. Then it says Sheshis Yom afterwards. So Ma Yoim Ratzav, just like a day. One day is consecutive. Those 24 hours are consecutive. Af Shishim Kulam Ritzufim. Also, the 60 days are also consecutive, one after another. It means you can't split them up. Mani, who's this go according to? Ilay Rabbanan. Does it go according to the Rabbanan? Miesli Rabbanan. Do the Rabbanan have it spread out? The Rabbanan hold. You count from the second one, so there is no splitting up. The whole first one is drop, so you just count from the second one, so the whole thing doesn't matter. So Elalav Rabbi Yehuda, it must be Rabbi Yehuda, and for this we're having the discussion. You count from the first one. Is it consecutive or not? And now that we're giving 60 days consecutive, he must hold that the second birth is nothing, and you don't add any days to the at the end to make up for the missing days of the second birth. Umar says, "Like, it's not necessarily a proof." Leilam Rabbanan, we could say that really that it's the rabbis. Could be we're talking about one case, a specific case, that she had a female, a girl. She gave birth to a girl, so she has 80 days. Now, after 14 days, she gives birth. She conceives. And 40 days later, she has a male, a boy. So there's only 7 days of impurity there, so it's going to fit. It's going to fit. The Gemara says, 1 second. Safe. We're trying to get it that it's going to be totally absorbed. How's this going to work? This is impossible.
80 days are covering.
Can you get 80? You can't get 80 in there. You can't get the 40 days in there. You can only get the impurity. It must be that we're talking about not that she. It must be that we're dealing with twins.
Well, that below that says, right below that, talking about.
Okay, so good. So the Gemara is going to ask these questions. The Gemara says, 1 second. Saif, Shalman Yoimei de Kadma, Bad Kan de Basrali Shalman. You're going to finish the first days and you didn't finish the second days. The 80 are going to be up. The Rabbanan Levlad Sheni Mana, because the rabbis count for the second one. We were talking about that she gave birth to twins. The female was first, that gives you 80 days. And then sometime later, however many days later, she gave birth to a male. She gave birth to the male, to the boy, in 20 days of her Yemei Tara. That means it's 34 days in. So 34 days in would give her another 7 days for the male. And then that would be 40, and then another 40. She would finish it all at the same time, and we'll say that it's absorbed. Minkat la shiva yemei tumah deleda. She would have. You have to take out tumah in the keva. Okay, and so she has the 7 days of tumah. V'hachi kamar, and this is what it means. Yachal hechad yalda tumah min keva mi karav zachla b'sayif. Maybe we should say that if she has twins, first a female and then a male, tafsik tumah deleda b'mitzei. Maybe we should say that the leda, the birth in the middle should separate. V'nimlei shishim v'sheish mifuzarim, and then she needs to count 66 after the 7. In other words, there's a little pause in those yimei tara, and she still needs another to complete the 66 minus the set. After this, when the 7 is up, Talmud Leimer Yaim, no, 66 is straight. Mayim kula ratzuf af shishim kula ritzufim. And this would fit with the Rabbanon. With the Rabbanon, that's what it's telling us. Amar Abaya says, Shleishim, very similar to what we just said with the Shishim. It says 30 days. Yachal bein ritzufim bein mefuzarim. Maybe they could be spread out. Talmud Leimer Yaim. It says the day. This is like repeating just from another source. Ma Yaim kula ratzuf af shleishim ritzufim. Just like the day is consecutive, 24 hours one after another. Also, the 30 days is consecutive. Mani, who does this calling?
What does it mean, unconsecutive?
That means that
you can have a break in between, and you still follow.
It's interrupted.
And if it's
with the birth, then you would have to complete it at the
end.
The
interruption is the birth.
Is the birth? You have those days of impurity. Then at the end, you have to tack it on at the end to catch that.
I'm trying to understand what would be the uninterrupted.
So it says, if it's going according to the rabbis, do the rabbis have anything that's spread out? They always start, you count from the second birth. There is no, you always start it over. So, Ella Lav Rabbi Yehudi, must be Rabbi Yehudi, it must be that, according to Rabbi Yehudi, that you can't divide it up. Now here it's different, because last time we were doing Shishim, and we were able to fit in another birth. Here you can 30 days you can't fit in any birth. So this is a proof that according to Rabbi Yehuda, there is no tacking on the extra days at the end. Vaydam Ravashi. Ravashi says Tashma v'sheishes yamim, in 6 days. Yachal bein ritzufim bein mefuzarim, because it's 66, right? So it divides it up, 60 and 6. Maybe you could say consecutive and spread out. Talmud Leimer Shishim. It says no, 60. Ma Shishim kol ritzufim, just like we learned before, a minute ago, that the 60 is consecutive. Av Shisha kol ritzufim, also the 6 are consecutive. Mani, where does this go according to? Ileimer Rabbanan. If we say it's the Rabbanan, miasli the Rabbanan mefuzarim, can the Rabbanan be spread out? You count to the second one. Allah, Rabbi Yehudi, it must be Rabbi Yehudi. Shmamina chumreslei, kula leslei, shmamina. We have a proof here that there is no Yemei Tara for extra Yemei Tara for the first one, for the first birth. If there was a second birth in the middle, you don't add on the extra days at the end. New Mishnah. Elam Evi and Karban Oila v'Yared. The following bring a Karban Oila v'Yared. Oila v'Yared means a sacrifice that has brackets, that has how much a person how much sliding scale. If a person is wealthy, then he brings an animal. If he's less wealthy, he brings a bird, and even less, he brings flowers. So Shmias Kol. This is if someone is administered an oath. Valbitis Vasayim, someone that actually swears falsely. Maltimas Mikdas Ukadasa, and if someone makes the temple impure, Vayiledus Vamitzera, and someone that gives birth, woman that gives birth in a Mitzera, all of these have to bring one of these karbanos. Okay. Tanar Rabbanan. Start in a brisa. This brisa is a little bit hard for me to read, the first one, because I don't understand what it means. Let's see. Yesh mevi bedalas vashirs. There's one type of sacrifice that there's poverty and there's wealth. Yesh mevi bedalas. There's one that's just poverty. Yesh mevi bedali dalas. And one is extremely poor. Yeledes, a woman that gives birth, may be a bedalas vashirs. She is poor and wealthy. I think what that means is that she has one carbon that's always the same. Her chatas is always a bird. That doesn't help. Okay. What it means? The oila,
saying the bird is a poor man's.
Yeah, the problem is that the oila is a lamb or a bird, depending on if she's poor. The chatas is always a bird. Mitzaira may be bedalas. This is where I don't get it.
No. He's saying the Yoledes, when she's rich, she also brings bedalas,
Which is the chatas.
which is the bird.
The chatas is a bird, right? Okay.
So that's why it's called bedalas of Ashirs. It's not talking that the Yoledes is poor. So when
So she's rich, she still brings.
She also brings a dollar.
Okay. Mitzaira may be bedalas. How would you translate that one? Mitzaira is rich. She brings all animals. I know this was hard for me. If he's poor,
A wealthy Mitzair also brings a.
wealthy Mitzaira would bring an asham, a regular carbon. It would bring a
Does
chatas
that
and bring
have
an
to do
ayla.
when he had the tuma, or when he's about to bring it, like they said before?
I don't know.
Is it?
Okay, I don't know how to translate that. Shmiyas hakol abitus v'asayim tumas mikdash kedashim meviim bedalas v'dali dalas. They bring also the carbon mincha. Yeah. Tanya, the next price is much easier. Yesh maybe echad tachas echad, yesh maybe shnaim tachas shnaim, yesh maybe shnaim tachas echad, yesh maybe echad tachas shnaim. Which means sometimes you bring one in place of one. That means that the Yeledas, for example, would bring one bird in place of the one sheep. That's one case. Sometimes you bring two in place of two. That's the Mitzaira. He brings two birds in place of the keves and the oila and the chatas. It's not equal, but he's poor. So, and then sometimes you bring two in place of one. That would be by the carbon oil of the yored, by the Mitzaira. He brings two birds. The Mitzaira we said brings two birds. So who brings two in place of one? Would be the.
It says that the price of the service went down. So his pruta now could bring two. That's what he said.
1 second. Before that, two in place of one is a regular carbon oil of a yored. When you don't have the money to bring the sheep, so you bring two birds. That's two in place of one. And then yesh maybe echad tachas shnayim. That's if you're bringing flour, because it's a carbon oil of a yored. Then you're bringing one flour in place of the two birds. Now now it says mikanat alamed lasir sefer bepruta. Here we can learn that the flour could be a pruta. Now we're going to see what that means. What we're going to do in that Gemara to figure that out is we're going to say that what's the ratio of animal to birds. That ratio, the difference in price, we're going to then do that ratio to birds to flour, and we're going to get, a pruta in that. Okay. Yeledes, the Gemara goes through this. Yeledes, we didn't have to explain it. The Gemara is going to explain it. Yeledes may be achas tachas achas, which means preda achas toif tachas keves. They bring one bird in front of the sheep, in place of the sheep. The sheep was an oila. She has to bring a bird for an oila. Mitzair shtei predim tachas shnei kvasim. Mitzair brings two birds in place of the two sheep. One was male, one was female. The male was the oila, and the sheep, and the female was the chatas. In the mitzvah, only has to bring 2 birds. If he doesn't swear, if he doesn't testify, or he swears falsely, or he's mitama the mikdash, maybe base braydim tachas kafsa achas. He brings 2 birds in place of that one chatas. Or maybe in bedale dalas, and then you can also bring, if he's totally impoverished, asir seifa tachas nei predim, 1 flower offering in place of those 2 birds.
He swears falsely.
We said here that even if it was b'mezid, right? We said shvua se'edas is chayav ala shogeg k'mezid, ala mezid k'shogeg. So
he doesn't get last.
Usually, a carbon is only for a shogeg. This was an exception. Okay. And then we conclude, we say, Mikanat alamed, Katani, Mikanat alamed, Lasir Sefer Shibapruta Minolan. From here we learn that the flour could be just 1 pruta. How do we know this? Tana Rabbana was taught in a Braisa. If someone says, I'm accepting on myself, 1 sela. A sela is 4 dinar to the altar. Maybe keves, you bring a sheep. Shein davar karev b'sela ela keves. How do you know that? Okay, because what cost the sela is a sheep. Mimai, how do you know that? Mida marachmana, because the Torah says, El asham bekesef shkalim. The ram is a little bit older than the sheep. The ram is a male sheep, but it's a little bit older. So a keves